Good morning and welcome to the new edition of My Life Comments. We as human beings are a credulous lot. So credulous that we believe whatever is told to us under the name of scientists, leaders. They seem to be the oracles and as if they can do no wrong. And yet, we are victims of hoaxes. And these hoaxes are many times aided and abetted by the state machinery. And the scientists and the researchers become tools in the hands of these politicians. You remember at one time it was said that the clarified butter, which is called ghee in India, and white butter are harmful. There was a lot of crusade against these, that they'll cause you heart attacks. And the result is the people stopped eating it, and now the doctors admit that was a wrong statement. Recently, FDA admitted that the biggest medical scam was the statins to control blood pressure. And still doctors continue to prescribe statins, which is a billion-dollar industry. So some research somewhere is done and the government seizes upon it without verifying the veracity. In normal scientific jargon, we always say, first there's a hypothesis, then there is theory, then there's law. But here, it becomes the law the moment it's propounded. I give you just one example of ghee. Examples abound. At one time, plastic was the wonder element, and today this is the most hated word. And now, recently, we are victims of another hoax. And unfortunately, the governments themselves are a party to this hoax. And this is about the words electric cars. Everybody is going gaga that these cars are eco-friendly, that the greenhouse gas emissions would be drastically reduced. And the reality is the other way around. The greenhouse gases from the transport sector are not a major contributor to the emissions. Dairy industry, milk industry, meat industry, agriculture, our natural habitats like wetlands, they are more than 70% contributors to the greenhouse gases. Anyway, coming back to the electric vehicle, let's see how successful this hoax has been. It was in 2016 that the sale of the electric vehicles started accelerating, with 2 million cars manufactured and 750,000 cars sold globally. There's a report of the International Energy Agency, 217 Global Electric Vehicle Report. It is expected to boom further in the coming years. It's predicted that the green electric car stocks will range between 9 million to 20 million by 2020. And by 2025, it will be around 70 million. Countries around the world are also attempting to ban the sale of petrol and diesel cars. India, France, USA, all are banning the manufacture of petrol and diesel cars. And they are encouraging people to go green. And by green, they don't mean hydrogen cells. They mean electric cars. Now come to the reality. Electric vehicles are not emission free. Agreed that when they are being run on electricity. They are not having any emissions. But from where does that electricity come? The battery that is charged with the electricity, or the electricity which is coming, is typical a product of emission-intensive fossil fuels or nuclear energy or from the renewables. And unless you are living in a country like Iceland or Norway, which generate 100% of the electricity from the renewable sources, you are using fossil fuel energy to power your car. So directly you are not using it, but indirectly you are still using the fossil fuels. So what does it show? That the people are asked to pay more for the same car because of the alteration. And the car is still indirectly producing the same amount of greenhouse gases. And you would ask me how the government is aiding and abetting it. Are you aware that USA subsidy of $8,000 to $20,000 per car, depending on the make, depending on the percentage of the hybrid system or the 100% electric. Ontario government gives $10,000 per car as a subsidy if you want to purchase a car. So directly they are promoting the hoax of electric cars, knowing fully well that this is a hoax and the electric cars are not an alternative, not a suitable alternative. As a matter of fact, they are just a variation. Looking at that, the question arises, why? Now let's go further in the electric cars only. China, at the end of the scale, is a country called China, whose electric car vehicle market accounts for 40% of all sales globally. There's a hunger for vehicles. And they drive most of these emission-intensive electric cars. And this is the data from Bloomberg's New Energy Finance, which shows that 95% of China's electricity comes from coal. Imagine it, China is among the top leaders crying at the top of its voice for curbing the production of fossil fuel powered vehicles. And its appetite for coal has intensified in recent years. From a global share, in early 70s, their share was 13.6%. That was in early 70s. In 2016, it was 45%. So look at the increase from 13 to 45. And why? Because they are generating this for the energy, so-called energy efficient cars. This increase in use of coal as an energy producer is adding to the greenhouse gases in an appreciable manner. Now, because of this coal use, China produced 3,242 million tons of coal in 2016, and it dwarfed the second largest producer is India, which accounted for only 708 million tons. So 3,240 million tons, one country, which is almost 90%, and 9.7% by India. That was the use of the coal for production of energy, and that energy being used for the electric cars. So how do you call them emission-free? How do you call them eco-friendly? I wonder that the people, even the educated people, the people who should know, are taken in by these hoaxes. And who gains? because of the taxes on the sale of vehicles, the government gains more taxes. The producers of the new cars, they gain money and they contribute to the political parties. They fund them, so they gain. And who loses? You and me, the consumers, the users. And we are all the time acting under the impression, or rather shall I call it hallucination, that we are contributing to the good of the world. According to the Bloomberg Energy Finance data, electric vehicles in China produce 188.4 grams of carbon dioxide emission per mile. When you convert the use of the energy being utilized by these electric cars and how much emission has been there, this is the figure per mile. These cars are approximately producing 188.5 grams of carbon dioxide. And in UK, they produce 76% of carbon dioxide because the coal use is less. And in France, they produce 2.7 grams. But look at the country which has 90% of the use and how much they are using. It might be argued that still it is at least 6 to 7% more energy efficient. 6 to 7% is the total energy saving because of some countries using a mix of renewable energy and the fossil fuel energy. Every country is not China. But then, is the cost and the subsidy comparable to the net gains? The net gain in GNG production is not commensurate with the cost that we are incurring, the social cost and the economic cost. As a matter of fact, this electric car is also not technologically the last word. We have come to believe that either they should be solar-driven cars the way they are doing in Mexico. Some of them have come up. That there is a foldable solar panel at the top of the car which generates electricity, and that can be done in the countries especially like Mexico, African countries, India, Pakistan, where sun is in plenty. That I can believe. Or you use hydrogen cell. You are generating hydrogen, capturing hydrogen, using it, and your emission is pure water. There is no fossil fuel involved at any stage. But no, they are far off according to the government, while as a matter of fact, the first hydrogen cars are already out in some market, the prototypes. And the same is condition of the electric cars. So my concern is, why does the government aid and abet hoaxes and pseudo-scientific capabilities? I do not deny that in case the energy is produced, 100% energy is produced from renewables, as is done in Norway, as is done in Iceland, then electric cars are an ideal alternative to the fuel-driven cars. But that's not the case. The source of energy, whether used directly in your vehicle or whether used indirectly in the original production of energy, is the same and equally bad. So what are we saving? And why should the government subsidize? In fact, the subsidy is not given to the consumer, indirectly it's being given to the producer. Consumer is just a conduit through which the subsidy is being passed on. And in case the government wants to do it, if the government wants to aid and abet those people, fine. But let them at least be honest and say that they are giving an alternative which may not be 100% efficient, but at least is 10% better than the fossil fuel driven cars. And that's the only benefit, 10%. The point is 10% gain commensurate with the cost involved? You are saying person yourself, you will be able to find out that the cost and the benefit analysis ratio would not be favorable. The second question is, why should the governments commit hoaxes? Only for the sake of appearing good? That's what it happens. Thirdly, why is it that just on the face of certain hypotheses, without conducting cost-benefit analysis, we come to a decision? We have the capabilities to have the computer modeling, and yet we don't do it. We always try to avoid the truth because truth is bitter. And unfortunately, our leaders, the people who are supposed to look after us, have the tendency to overlook the realities. And that is why the hoaxes are played. One day they say ghee is bad, the other day it's very good. One day olive oil should not be used by frying, next day we hear olive oil is okay for frying. One day we find the statins are the ideal medication for the blood pressure, second day we find no. One day we find that diabetes, the minimum requirement is 18 mmHg, next day it comes to 13, then it comes to 10. The reduction so that the sale of the diabetic medication can go off and steeply go up. Why? Until and unless this nexus between the political leadership and the industry is broken, you and I would be at the end of the receiving end. We shall be the people who shall be exploited, who shall be misled, until and unless we take knowledgeable decisions based on facts. And this electric cars is the latest hoax being exposed. If you look at the cost-benefit analysis and the reality of the production of energy, directly or indirectly, as in the case of cars. Give it a thought. Thank you.